power in the global system is not disappearing. It is being redistributed. All the assumptions about stability, alliances, and dominance are quietly collapsing. What we are witnessing is not chaos, it is a structural reset. So in 1991, the Soviet Union collapses. Okay? And now, America is the only game in town. There's no one who can challenge the supremacy of the Americans. And so now what happens is America creates something called the New World Order. The New World Order is based on global trade. But because the United States controls the US dollar, it can now control something called pricing. Pricing just means that the Americans can decide the value of everything. Okay? So what America does is create a price hierarchy. So at the very bottom are resources. But above that is manufacturing. Then there's knowledge and then finance. Okay? This is the price hierarchy for the world. Okay? And it divides the world into a division of labor. Okay? So what is resources? Well, guys, it's Russia. Okay? Does it make sense? Russia, Africa, South America. What's manufacturing? China. What's knowledge? Europe. And what is finance? America. Okay, does it make sense? So what's going to happen is that America is going to take its manufacturing and transfer it to China. Okay? Because it's cheaper for China to do it than for America to do it. And all America is going to do is finance. Okay? What is finance? Finance is just the creation of money for the purpose of creating more money. Right? Okay? So this is the system in place. And at first it sounds great because everyone's making money. Okay? But there are inherent instability in the system. Okay? And we will discuss all this instability throughout the semester. But for the sake of simplicity, let's talk about America. What happens when you focus on finance is that you become a speculative economy. You focus on gambling. Okay? Basically gambling. And this leads to something called the 2008 Great Financial Crisis, when the American economy collapsed. Okay? And at this time, the entire world economy should have collapsed. And so what happened was all these central banks from around the world came together in Basel, Switzerland, the Bank of the National Settlements. Okay? Right. The secret body in which all economic policies are made, and they decide the only way to save the world is if China spends money. You understand? Why do we have all these skyscrapers? Why are all these airports? Why all these high-speed railways? Because China, to save the global economy, decided to invest in infrastructure. Okay? And Berlin Initiative, and that saved the global economy. Now, after China did this, China developed a lot of debt. Okay? And China basically said to the world, listen, we saved the global economy, so we deserve a seat at the table, right? We deserve to be equal to America, and so we're going to sell our products or Huawei phones around the world. We're going to compete with America for global dominance. And America said, screw you. Okay? And that led, of course, to Donald Trump. 2016, Donald Trump. And the first thing Donald Trump did, of course, was initiate the US-China trade war. Right? China wants to be an equal to America. America says, no, screw you. We're going to destroy you. Okay? So America tried to sanction China. America tried to blockade China. Okay? So we'll discuss this again later on throughout the semester. Okay? Then what happened, of course, is 2022, Russia invades Ukraine. Okay? So what Russia is saying is, you know this price hierarchy, screw this. Okay? Because guess what happens, guys? If you don't have any resources, this system doesn't work. Okay? Try manufacturing without any resources. Try having knowledge about resources. Try having finance about resources. Okay? So when Russia invades Ukraine, it's trying to control the resources of Ukraine. Russia and Ukraine together controls 1/3 of the world's carbohydrates. Africa, the Middle East, starves to death without Russian and Ukrainian grain. Okay, does that make sense? So now this entire system's in jeopardy. Okay? And so what's happening today is America is fighting to save its gain. It's trying to fight to save the system. It's trying to fight to save the US dollar. It's trying to fight to save its high-gain money. Okay? And Russia and China are trying to exert themselves. So we are in a time of game reset. Okay? Game reset. And this is a world that we live in today. Okay? Alright. So, we will discuss this throughout the semester. Any questions? Are you guys clear? So, I know this was a lot to take in, but we'll go into the specifics throughout the semester. Okay? We will go and we'll apply the current events to explain why this is happening. Any questions? Okay? So the only purpose of America, like they produce a service for China, is to let them use US dollars right, so America can use this game to everyone, but I think China does not do the same thing as American, like they created this game, why we'll discuss this throughout the semester. Okay, the relationship between China and the United States. So remember that the United States want to play this game. But they can't really say to the world, oh, we're doing this because we're greedy and we want China to be subservient to us. Okay? So, they said that we want China to play the game because this game will allow the middle class to rise. It will make China much more democratic. Okay? But that was just BS. That was just a fraud, a lot of hypocrisy, right? So now that China is in this game alright, what it's trying to do is restructure the game so that it's more independent, okay? Because the problem for China is okay to play this game. What you're doing is you're taking resources alright, creating manufacturing exports okay. And so that's the role of China in this game. There's certain problems with this game. The first problem is America controls the entire game. Right? So Americans say, we don't like you, so you can't trade anymore. So basically they stop the resources and they limit the market access. Okay? So what China needs to do to survive is ideally diversify, create markets outside of the United States, find resources that are not dependent on the US. Okay? So that's a game that China's playing, and that's the idea of BRICS. Okay? We will discuss BRICS later on. Right? But the BRICS is a very different concept where before America was trying to impose this game on everyone. Now China is just trying to create a system that is not so dominated by the Americans. Okay? That's a Chinese mentality. Right? Does that make sense? Okay. All right. Any more questions, guys? Okay. Great. So we'll continue this on Thursday.